Nay, is Draymond going to last next season with the Warriors?
I don't know. I don't know.
Whoa.
Right.
When Stephen A. Smith says, I don't know if a guy is going to last with a season with a team, my first question is always, are you just kind of thinking about it, or is this based on stuff you're hearing?
No, I'm thinking about it because of the people that I know within that organization. Let me say this.
Yep.
It's very important that I qualify my statements because I'm a huge fan of Draymond Green, the player and the person. I love the guy. And I think that the kind of energy that he brings to the basketball court, I'd want him on my team any day. Gotten to know him a little bit. I'm very, very fond of the Michigan State program because I love me some Tom Izzo, who I would want, if I had a son, I would want him playing for Tom Izzo. That's how I feel about that man. Here's my thing about Draymond, and I hope he's watching this because forget, the snafu, that's his personal business. Whatever mistake he made, that's fine, and I ain't getting into all of that, okay? I work for Walt Disney. I'm just not going there. What I will say is this. Draymond Green is being praised by a lot of people because of what he does on the court. My brother, do not think for 1 second that they won't turn against you in a flash. He needs to understand this. The Golden State Warriors have Kevin Durant now. Now, obviously, Draymond has the kind of requisite skills that complement both Steph, Clay, and Kevin Durant being on the same team. But it also diminishes the need for him if he becomes too problematic. Now, I don't believe that this is something that would happen, but let me tell you something. As somebody who's gotten to know the Warriors organization, whether it's Joe Lacob, whether it's Bob Myers, to a lesser degree, Steve Kerr. I think a lot of people misconstrue my thinking Mark Jackson should have never been fired, which is something the Warriors know that I have always felt takes nothing away from the great organization that they are, the great coach that Steve Kerr has proven to be, even though he didn't have a great Game 7. And by the way, Steve Kerr is a fantastic guy. He's a good man. So I don't want this to be misconstrued. But what I'm saying is Bob Myers is also a good guy. And Joe Lacob is about winning. And he's about winning and being positive while doing it. And he absolutely loves Draymond Green. But Draymond Green speeding down the highway at 118 miles an hour and Snapchatting it at the same time, even though his mama was right when his mama came out publicly and said, don't act like we've never tested how fast our car could go from time to time. There are people that have foolishly done that. He's not the only one.
But no one's sitting here, of course.
Well, of course not.
Of course not. None of us.
Never that. But the point is that not only that, but then you got to remember the situation after the finals, and you got into a beef and got arrested, because of the beef in the nightclub, okay? And then now this. These are not things that have made the Golden State Warriors the brand that they have become. And I'm not saying this to chastise Draymond Green. I got nothing but love for the brother. I'm saying this to warn him, and it's not to cast aspersions on the Golden State Warriors organization. I'm saying any organization, any brand. They can hug you, they can kiss you, they can sing Kumbaya to you, they can throw parties for you, they could do all of this stuff. At the end of the day, any organization that believes you are compromising their money and their bottom line because of image issues ultimately will turn on you if you're not careful. And that is the message that I want to send to Draymond Green. He's got to stop making the news for these reasons, which is why I said I don't know. Because the personnel that the Golden State Warriors have in place, Max, if Draymond Green finds himself continuously getting bad press, if there is one team that can actually afford to lose him right now, it's Golden State. I sincerely doubt they'll do it, but they could afford to. He needs to be careful.
I don't think they can afford to, and I think that's why he's okay. Now, by the way, not only just the off the court stuff, but sometimes a guy is so high energy all the time, that can even wear thin in the locker room, even if he is the emotional center and the kind of spiritual leader of the team. If that dude is on all the time, that can wear thin over time, I think.
Well, you're right, because remember, during the halftime of the OKC Warriors game, he, cussed out Steve Kerr.
Yep.
I'm here to tell you that Draymond actually got a bad rap for that because, considering how he's the workman, you don't go into the locker room and isolate him and calling him out, which is how he took it, which is why he blew up. So I don't condemn him for that, but it was still bad press for Draymond.
Draymond was almost the Finals MVP. Let's not forget. He was almost, if one of the greatest players who ever lived, probably the greatest player since Michael Jordan at his best, didn't go ham in Game 7, Draymond, they win that game.
32-15 and 9.
Going to be Finals MVP. I mean, but he's the crazy guy on the team. A lot of teams have that one crazy guy, right? Where it's like a Dennis Rodman on the Jordan Bulls team, the second three-peat, where it's like, can this guy hold it together when we need him to hold it together? Vontaze Burfict, that was and it was like, actually, at the end of the game, he couldn't. Draymond, I think the jury's still out there because on the one hand, he did get suspended a game. They did lose that game. On the other hand, the way that series played out, I don't think that would have made a difference. I don't think LeBron was going to let those guys lose. And Draymond didn't do anything else where, well, he did actually, but he didn't wind up missing any more time. So he is really walking that fine line for that crazy guy who you hope can keep it together. But this is why I really think he's okay. I don't think he's in jeopardy. And I think even with Kevin Durant on the team, they really need him. Strategically, he's what makes them different. He has revolutionized the big man position, and you could call it a 4, you could call it a 5, point forward, point center, whatever it is.
Man shoots 49% from the field and 38% from three-point range.
From 3. Now, you can say that's because, and I think correctly, that Steph Curry is not all three-pointers are created equal. Steph is shooting from so far away that's actually in the spread pick and roll. That's really creating more space than there's ever been created.
Correct.
And so it makes Draymond go from a 33% shooter to a 38% shooter, which is all the difference in the world in the modern NBA. But Draymond can shoot the 3. He can swarm in the paint. He can rebound. He can make great decisions with the ball as a kind of a point forward. He can put the ball on the floor. He's so well-rounded that, in fact, when other GMs are looking at the Warriors, strategically speaking, one of the players you must take into account, even with Steph and Durant on this team, really the question is, what are we going to do about Draymond? How do we match up with that? Or how do we get a guy like that? Like Karl Anthony Towns right now has supplanted for many Anthony Davis as the big you want because he came into the league shooting the 3 very well. They made him do it in college. And now it's like he's kind of Draymond Green, but bigger and better and more talented. Like that's one of the Draymond's existence is one of the reasons a guy like Karl Anthony Towns exists with the game he has and the reason it's so coveted. And besides the fact that he's Steph's real pick and roll partner. I mean, I think strategically, Draymond has such importance to this team that even with Durant there, his importance cannot be undermined.
Well, see, that's all fine and good and excellent basketball analysis, but that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is a Golden State Warriors team that's scheduled to move into a new arena in a couple of years in San Francisco. We're talking about a Golden State Warriors team that has the Golden Boy, the reigning 2-time league MVP, who, can it get any nicer than him? I mean, one of the true gentlemen this sport has ever seen. We're talking about a backcourt that's considered the greatest shooting backcourt in the business. We're talking about an owner in Joe Lacob who is elite, absolutely believes his organization is elite, and literally considers themselves the new standard bearers. And so when you look at it from that perspective, again, I'm not saying this is something that they're entertaining at the moment or anything like that. I'm simply giving Draymond Green a heads up because I got that much love for the brother. I want him to know I don't care how much they hug you and smile at you and tell you something. Don't push the envelope. if you want to stay in Oakland, because if you keep being in the news for the wrong reasons, they will turn on you in a heartbeat. There's a history of players who was shell-shocked that an organization that loved them dearly and valued them decided to say goodbye. Be careful.
Last point on that. I still think he's okay, even having said that, unless the Warriors are actually a loser organization who cares so much about their brand image that they will sacrifice championships. Durant and I love Kevin Durant. In Game 7 against the Warriors, he came up small. In Game 7 against Cleveland, Steph Curry looked like he didn't want it. I know he was probably compromised. Klay Thompson went cold. Do you know who went bananas? Draymond Green, with the chips on the line when it seemed like no one else wanted it. In Game 7 of the finals, Draymond showed up big. And that dude is a championship player.
We can reach an accord. You're probably right in terms of, based off of what you said, maybe we don't move them now. But next summer, if you keep getting it.
Don't slip, Draymond. Don't slip. Don't slip. You better keep playing.
You're saying that. I'm just saying, I'm just looking out for him and saying, don't slip.
Don't let it compromise your production.
Stop this.
Your team's money.
And I'm quite sure that Tom Izzo will tell him the same thing.
You better keep getting those triple doubles on a winning team.
No question. When we come back, there is a quarterback competition brewing in San Francisco. Is Chip Kelly already making a mess with the Niners? We'll explain and react when we come back.
I want to talk to you about this relationship that you and LeBron are doing. You guys are showing that it's okay to be friendly off the court but still be competitors. There's a school of people who would say that, you know what, you don't do that. You can't really compete against your best friend. It takes the edge off. You know the story of how Magic allegedly wasn't Isaiah's friend anymore when Isaiah started to beat him. Is there any truth to that?
It's just total different generations. In that era, maybe ownership built teams. It's built by relationships nowadays. KD going to Golden State, relationships. LeBron coming to Miami, relationships. In our era, it's okay to be friends, go out to eat, hang out at each other's house, but the next day, I'm trying to kick your butt, you trying to kick my butt because you're trying to win, you're a competitor. You wouldn't be as great as you was if you wasn't. So that notion that you can be friends with someone and compete against them, why not? Doesn't mean that you don't want to beat them because you're their friend.
Everyone knows that you have a well-documented friendship with LeBron James. When you're going through a decision like this, what did LeBron say to you?
Well, I mean, I got an opportunity because I was on vacation with Chris and Bron. And they left me alone. You know, they knew what I was going through, but we did have one moment. And they just wanted to hear from me like what I was thinking. So they just kind of listened to me kind of talk about, you know, where my feelings was and what I was thinking. And the biggest thing came back from both of them is follow your heart.
KD at Golden State, your thoughts on that? Were you surprised? Were you shocked?
I wasn't shocked. I remember what I was doing when I heard it, and I was like, oh. And I went to Snapchat and I said, power move. Because as a player, to be in a situation where you know people are going to say a lot of stuff about you negative, right? He knows that. That's a team that just beat him to get to the finals, right? He didn't care. He made the move he wanted to make. He teamed up with some very, very good players. And they are going to be powerful in the NBA. Their brand, their business is going to skyrocket because all eyes are going to be on them, whether you love it or you hate it. Your eyes are glued to how this is going to work. It was a power move by, you know, someone that I've now started building a relationship with, you know, and I'm proud of him for making that move. I'm proud of him for making the decision, saying, you know what, I'm gonna do what I want to do and what makes me happy. And I know it's gonna hurt some people's feelings, and I'm sorry that it's gonna hurt y'all feelings, but this is about Kevin.
What advice do you give him? Because you arguably helped coordinate the very first, or as of late, super team, you, LeBron, and Bosh. You know what it's like to be hunted, not liked, talked about. So what advice do you give KD as he makes that move?
Well, I think the one thing where we went wrong at, not saying we was the first, but in this era we was the first, was we played into it, right? So we all started playing this game because we love it. We all became teammates because first of all, we wanted to compete for a championship. And we was all very good, and we all just had a passion for the game of basketball. And it showed in our play. When we became teammates and everybody made us the villains, we acted like the villains. it works for someone. Kobe can be a villain. That's Kobe. LeBron James can't be a villain. Dwyane Wade is not a villain. I'm not a person who want to be disliked. LeBron isn't either, Chris isn't either. And we tried to feed into that. And that whole first season, it just wasn't fun. Like, we got to the finals, and eventually we lost because it wasn't true to us. So this wasn't who we was. So my advice to him was, listen, man, that you made the move, you made a decision. Enjoy the game the way that you've always enjoyed it. Don't let no one take the joy away.
If the Cavs and Golden State Warriors meet with KD in the finals, who wins?
I don't know. I don't care. I hope they're not in the finals.
You hope you're in the finals?
Yeah.
You don't care about that? You don't think they win it?
I hope neither one of them in the finals.
They're not doing it. They're not making it.
No, I can talk about their regular season games.
Yo, you think they get better with KD this year? Obviously, but I don't think they'll go 73. What do you think?
I can't sit here and say, oh, well, they got KD, they're going to win 77 games. Like, no one knows what they're going to. No one thought that we would ever see 73 wins. What Golden State accomplished in the regular season was incredible. Mm-hmm. Now they adding a special player, and they're going to be exciting. You got to bring your hard head when you play them.
Let's talk about you. 13 with Miami. You're now here. And you hear the storylines, what's left, what's left. Last year, your best year since 05, 06, I believe. What's left?
I mean, it's more so proving to myself. I don't have nothing to prove to the world. It's something about being an athlete, which is great, but we looked at as superheroes as well, right? So, as a superhero, you're never supposed to get old. You're never supposed to grow. Like, you're supposed to be the same person that I fell in love with.
Yes.
Like, why are you changing?
Yeah.
You know, don't change. Like, I fell in love with you at 24. Why are you not 24? Right. So I'm 34 years old. You know, my game is different. But if you look at my season last year, I wasn't touching the top of the backboard. I wasn't zooming past people. Like, I played my game. And when healthy, that's the game that I play. That's the game I will continue to play, which has been effective and efficient for me as long as I play the game of basketball. My season next year is going to be all predicated on how healthy I'm in. And I knock on wood that I'll be able to play another 74, 75 plus games, have the playoffs, and be able to be me. And that's what I was last year. I wouldn't do anything that I normally don't do. Like, I just played basketball, and I was Dwyane Wade.
So coming up tomorrow in my final part of the conversation, my extended conversation with Dwyane Wade, his wife, Gabrielle Union, actress and activist, will join us, and she'll talk about the super couple and how they're able to work together. It'll be a good watch.
What do you make of Wade's comments?
My heart went out to him. D. Wade's a proud guy. He's somebody that I've known for years in this league. I cover a lot of these guys. You get to know a lot of these guys. Some of their imperfections that come out, you know, we have an obligation to point to that as long as it's not too much on a personal level. There are things that I know about guys on a personal level you'll never hear me say. I'll take it to my deathbed. It's not happening. But as it pertains to the sport that they play, you know, you report on what you report. D. Wade is one of the greatest people that I've ever covered in my professional career. He's that good of a guy. And no matter how comfortable he is with this decision, no matter how comfortable his wife, Gabrielle Union Wade, who's also a friend of mine, I've known her for many years, wonderful woman, no matter how composed they are, no matter how fine they are with this decision, no matter how happy D. Wade is to go back home, and he is happy because he contemplated going there, and, you know, while he was approaching free agency max in 2010 before the three decided to hook up, there is no question that it hurt him to leave Miami. And there is no question why. In the end, when he talks about all y'all need to know, based on that wonderful interview Kerry Champion did, here's all y'all need to know. When he says feeling appreciated, when he says feeling wanted, that's a roundabout way of saying that's not how he ultimately ended up feeling in Miami. 13 years, 3 championships, 5 trips to the NBA Finals. And he sort of felt like he was being pushed out. Hassan Whiteside, $98 million over 4 years. $4 million was reserved for Kevin Durant. But somehow, some way, when Kevin Durant decides not to go to Golden State, and instead he decides he's going to Golden State and decides he's not coming to Miami, suddenly that's $4 million that was available to him wasn't available for D-Wade. So when he says it wasn't about the money, even though it's about money, it wasn't in this respect. He's saying, damn, $4 million, you trying to tell me I'm not worth the extra $4 million? He can sit up there and talk all he wants. And I'm not saying he's not happy to be in Chicago. Don't tell me that D-Wade that I've known wanted to leave South Beach. He didn't want to leave. And he's not going to blame. And he's right when he sits there and says he has nothing but respect for Pat Riley. He didn't say the word love. Now, I know that if you know Pat Riley, believe it or not, it's actually hard not to love him, because even though he might, he gets, he's a little bit different, the man is special in so many ways, and there's so many pros that come with being associated with Pat Riley rather than cons. But in the end, don't tell me it didn't hurt him. And I saw a guy that's happy to be going home, and he's going to make lemonade out of lemon. Mm-hmm. But I also saw a guy that's hurt that it had to come to this, and it saddened me.
And Dwyane Wade contradicted himself in the interview, because on the one hand, he framed himself as the choosing one. I got to make a decision.
Controlling his own destiny. Controlling
my own destiny. On the other hand, it was, you'd have to ask Pat Riley that. In other words, and then he said Pat Riley made his choice. Mm-hmm. And that's what this really comes down to. Dwyane Wade didn't choose here. Pat Riley chose. And then Pat Riley, who is still kind of like the alpha of the NBA, he's still the godfather of the league somehow. Pat Riley got Dwyane Wade to take a little less than his market share every single season of his career. He always took a little less to make everything work. And how did Pat Riley reciprocate the loyalty? As a smart guy does who's running a team. When he was no longer worth making that sacrifice for in Pat Riley's perception, I believe, when he figured, look, he was an all-star last year, had a great bounce-back year. Maybe he'll be an all-star again next year, but he ain't going to be an all-star 2 years from now, and he wants us to pay him like one. He saw an out. And then after the fact, Pat Riley says, oh, I regret not being more involved. Coach, or I can't, Pat, what? Mr. Riley? I mean, more involved, as though we're supposed to believe that Pat Riley isn't involved in every nuance and detail of the organization. When Dwyane Wade sits there and says, go ask Pat Riley, he made his choice, what he's really saying is, I am not the choosing one. It was chosen for me. Stephen A., that said, I think more highly of his chances and his situation in Chicago than you do. They essentially traded Derrick Rose, and Joakim Noah for Dwyane Wade and Robin Lopez, which at this point I believe is an upgrade. And yeah, they don't have a lot of shooting in the backcourt with Rondo, although Butler should shoot better than he did last year. But they got the stretch four, what's his name, Mirotic at the 4, even though Gibson maybe
they'll get to the playoffs.
If they can shoot just enough, they're going to be dangerous.
No, I don't think they're going to be dangerous. D-Wade disagrees with me there, so does Jimmy Butler. But I don't think they're going to be dangerous. I think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll be decent. I think a successful season for them will qualify them getting to the semifinals of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
I think it's questionable whether that will happen, but they'll definitely make the playoffs in my estimation. But I also think, getting back to the whole Riley D-Wade thing, I totally agree with you. In terms of being more involved or whatever, some folks close to D-Wade and LeBron text me a message when it went down a few weeks ago, and they said, you know what? They made him an offer he could refuse.
Yeah.
He had to refuse.
That's a great way to say it.
And they said that's the bottom line. And if they see it that way, that's their way of telling me that's how D-Wade saw it. Mm-hmm. When I spoke to D-Wade, he was perfectly fine with the decision. It had to be done. But he had been warning me for a year, Stephen A., this could be it for me in Miami. He had been warning me for a year. I never believed it because of that beautiful house he built inside, it's near South Beach and the whole bit. But evidently he wasn't playing, man. And in 2 of the last 3 years, LeBron has walked out the door and D-Wade has walked out the door. Again, I think Riley is phenomenal, but this has not been a good time for him. Mm-hmm. It has not been.
Yep, but you want to be where you want it. And that point, again, yeah, he didn't really get to dictate his destiny, but now making the best of it. You know who's going to really drop the mic? Max Kellerman, Stephen A. Smith. Check out this crowd. Great turnout here. We are in Rich Richmond, Virginia. The fans are fired up, so are we. The sun is coming out. We're in good spirits here. First Take, day 3 of our training camp tour. Welcome into First Take. Thank you so much for hanging with us. On the road, we are enjoying it. Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman.
What's up, Ross?
I'm Molly Qerim. Ryan Clark will be with us later. How we doing? How we doing? Plus a lot of guests, right? Kirk Cousins, D'Angelo Hall, and Josh Norman. So a lot to discuss with them. Gentlemen, you want to get into it?
Let's go.
Because we got some news. We start in the NBA, though, with Russell Westbrook. OKC Thunder fans devastated earlier this NBA offseason when Kevin Durant chose not to re-sign with the team and go to the Warriors, but now they have something to smile about. League sources told ESPN Westbrook has agreed in principle to a deal with the Thunder for 3 years worth $85.7 million. Westbrook will make an extra $8.7 million this upcoming season. He has a player option for the 3rd season. Stephen A., how bad does this make KD look?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. If Kevin Durant had come out and said that, you know what, I just don't want to be in Oklahoma City anymore. I want to be in some place like my man Chris Rock says where you can order sushi at 4 in the morning as opposed to Oklahoma City, then he doesn't look bad. But if you're talking about being in a situation and not departing from a winning situation and not being perceived as jumping on a bandwagon, I think Kevin Durant looks very bad because by Russell Westbrook signing this deal, clearly it's not a long-term deal. He's only really committing for 1 additional year. He's getting himself about a $9 million raise. It was a good business decision on his part, no doubt, but it also showed a willingness to play and to stay in OKC, not escape to Los Angeles or anywhere else we were speculating that he might want to go. And in the end, what it comes down to is this: Kevin Durant didn't believe that winning with Russell Westbrook was a possibility. You can slice it any way you want to. In the end, if you're chasing a championship, Kevin Durant chose Steph Curry over Russell Westbrook. You can slice it any way you want. He can try and couch it. He can try to massage it. He can try to sit there and wiggle his way around it. Who gives a damn? That's what this comes down to. Because Russell Westbrook making the claim and the proclamation that indeed he's willing to stay in OKC with Steven Adams and Victor Oladipo there with him, carrying this team or whatever. You can sit there and speculate that he wants to be the man, and obviously there's some truth to that because he likes shooting the basketball. There's no doubt about that. He's a career 21 point per game scorer. We know how electrifyingly athletic he is, the most athletic point guard in the history of the NBA, if that's what you really want to call him, a point guard. But in the end, Kevin Durant can slice it any way he wants to. He preferred the thought of playing with Steph Curry more so than playing with Russell Westbrook. That's what this move comes down to, because Russell Westbrook saying that he's not willing to leave in all likelihood is something that he made clear to Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant chose to part ways anyway, Mike.
If your thesis is that this makes Durant look bad, then Stephen A., Mr. Basketball, I respectfully disagree. Look, in the moment, Westbrook wins the headline. Westbrook wins the hearts of the old school guys who consider it, you know, the tough guy, old school way to, damn it, you stay where you are and you try to make best, you know, with what you got. He'll win the headline today and he'll make Durant look bad today. But that's okay, because there'll be more headlines tomorrow, and the headlines will read eventually. Kevin Durant made it to X finals, and that X going to be more than one on that squad. And one Y finals, and that Y is probably going to be more than one on that squad too. So history will record. And then years from now, there'll be documentaries about how, well, Westbrook never won a title, but you have to understand, he was the guy who stayed there. And what were Westbrook's options? And Westbrook is my favorite player in the NBA. That guy, like, has rabies when he plays. That guy is unbridled aggression. There's no one I like to watch more than Russell Westbrook. But what were his options? He's not a free agent, so any team that traded for him would have to gut their team, and he wouldn't be going to a very talented team. And then even look at the teams who could really use him to put him over the top. A lot of them have point guards. What was he supposed to do? So what did he do? He optimized his money by getting paid now, by having opt-outs when he gets 10 years in the league, so he gets a new max deal at new max money. He did the smart thing. I don't think it makes Durant look bad at all.
Well, he did the smart thing from a business perspective. And it's not a matter of Durant looking bad because he decided to leave OKC. I've been on the record saying I have no problem with Kevin Durant deciding to leave OKC. I had a problem with him picking to go to the team that actually knocked him off and that actually beat him. But you also have to remember that Kevin Durant is after championships. Kevin Durant wants a ring. Kevin Durant was on a championship contender and decided to go to the very team that beat him, who happens to have the reigning two-time league MVP, who plays the same position as Russell Westbrook. So essentially what you're saying, after coming to Russell Westbrook's defense in press conferences where Mark Cuban talked about him and other places where other media pundits and beyond have talked about Russell Westbrook, the number one protector, the number one defender of Russell Westbrook was Kevin Durant. Yet when it was time and you had an opportunity to make a decision, you chose somebody over Russell Westbrook in order to go and play with them. Now, I'm not saying that makes Kevin Durant look bad, but I'll tell you what, it does make him look a bit disingenuous considering how so quickly he was willing to come to the defense of Russell Westbrook only to jump and, just skip out of town the second he had an opportunity to. In the end, again, it doesn't make Kevin Durant look bad. I don't mean to imply that. What I'm trying to say is, let's be real. Let's be real. In the end, it comes down to one reality and one reality. You did not believe you could win a championship with Russell Westbrook. Well, that's what you're saying. Now, by the way, just to get to your point, because you're quick to sit up there and say, Stephen A., is the insider talking? Did you hear this from somebody? Or is this what you believe? Let me clarify. When it comes to this particular issue, yes, I have people close to Kevin Durant, regardless of what he thinks. I am telling you what they said. He cannot win. Their words were, he cannot win a championship with Russell Westbrook, Stephen A., and you damn well know it. And I said, did Kevin Durant say that? And they said, no comment. Now that's the insider. What I deduce from that is clearly that's what you believe. And clearly you were convinced to believe that, and you might not have needed to be convinced to believe that, but it's clear you don't feel that Russell Westbrook was going to facilitate you capturing a championship. So all of this bloviating in his defense all of these years seems a bit disingenuous at this point.
What do you want him to do when that's his teammate? That's his partner in crime. He's got to pump him up. Now, you don't want to turn Russell Westbrook. You don't want to turn Russell Westbrook into something that he's not. You can only tamper with his kind of aggression so much. But I can't hold it against Kevin Durant that he spoke out and spoke up for what Russell Westbrook while they were teammates, but that when it came down to him making a decision for his career, Stephen A., he's looking at 30 in the not-too-distant future, and he's looking at Westbrook, who's more talented than Steph Curry or anyone on the Warriors, more talented, but he's looking at the Warriors and saying, why does this have to be so hard in terms of the way we play? Why does it have to be a question, who gets the last shot? Why do we have to be playing in isolation so much? I want to play the right way with those guys. You know who gets the last shot? The open man. I don't want to have to worry with all those other kind of things.
You know what? You should be ashamed of yourself. I can't believe you just uttered those words out of your mouth. And I understand you cover the sport of boxing, and in the end, that's an individual sport because you're in that boxing ring all by yourself. I do get that point. I do get that reality. But let's also not act like you don't know. When you're talking about elite athletes, how you duck and run for cover with the team that beat you. When they were up 3-1, Kevin Durant had everything to do with them losing that 3-1 lead. It wasn't just Russell Westbrook. Even though Russell Westbrook and him combined to turn over the ball 6 of their last 8 possessions. You know why I didn't blame Russell Westbrook for that? Because the mistakes that Russell Westbrook made, he always made. It was Kevin Durant that looked a bit different. It was him going down, taking shots 1 or 2. It was him forcing the issue. It was him looking like the antithesis of what we knew Kevin Durant to be. And again, he's not wrong. I'm not trying to come across as he's wrong, nor am I trying to come across as him being somebody that should have dimed out his players or called out his teammate. What I'm saying is, Max, there does come a point in time where you can shut the hell up. You can sit up there and go like this. Well, you know what? I'm not going to dog my teammate, but what I'm not going to do is come to his defense every chance I get and dog out anybody who has something accurate to say about him, when in the end, your actions are indicative of exactly what pundits were saying about him. You chose the Golden State Warriors over Oklahoma City because you chose Steph Curry over Russell Westbrook because you believe you got a better shot of winning a title with him than with your man that was by your side for the last 7 to 8 years. That's the reality.
Not just Steph.
That's the reality.
And Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, and Steve Kerr, and Andre Iguodala. They have a bunch of unselfish players. A lot of them can shoot the lights out, too, by the way, which is not the case in OKC. Who's going to shoot the ball in OKC from a distance at this point?
Right.
But I want to get back to what you said about how they both choked, Westbrook and Durant, down the stretch.
I don't think Russell Westbrook
choked. Well, Westbrook didn't play well down the stretch.
But he usually does it. But he usually does it at times.
Right.
Kevin Durant, my definition of choking is when
you turn into something else.
When you turn into something else when times get tight.
So why do you let Westbrook off the hook for the fact that he frequently does that?
Because that's always been his game, because he's aggressive and he's a rat.
And that's why. Look at Miami with LeBron and Wade. Now, it was a new team, new dynamic, etc., though there was a new coach in OKC. Look at that dynamic. Part of the problem early is they came into conflict. Whose team is it? Who's going to get the ball, etc., until Wade deferred because LeBron's superior talent just took over. Westbrook had closed the gap with Durant. It was not clear whose team it was. It was not clear who was alpha when they were on the floor. It was disrupting chemistry, and Durant tried to extricate himself from that and go to a team, by the way, which when he was on OKC, they were more talented than Golden State. I can't knock him for that.
Ahead,
no, once you respond, I have another question on Westbrook. I want to get you guys to.
You know, Max Kellerman.
A less talented team?
You know, Max Kellerman, I got to confess. You're annoying me this morning already. I must confess this. I'm gonna tell you why.
I'm doing something right.
I love when Stephen A starts getting annoyed.
I'm gonna tell you why you annoy me. Because it's like you talk about Kevin Durant like he's Steven Adams or Victor Oladipo or somebody. He's Kevin Durant. He was up 3-1. You're one of the top 3 players in the world. No matter how great Russell Westbrook is, he ain't better than Kevin Durant. So when you talk about what Kevin Durant is joining, well, damn. I mean, you're the superstar, and you were up 3-1. You were supposed to close the door even more so than Russell Westbrook. And it's like you glossing over that and acting like it's no big deal that he jumped on a bandwagon for the team that beat him. I would not have had any problem with Kevin Durant going anywhere except to the team that knocked him off.
If that team had won a championship, I agree with you. They did not. I don't think it's a big deal that you collapsed in the Western Conference Finals and then go join that team. Had the Warriors won 73 games, defended their title, back-to-back champions, beaten Cleveland, and Durant goes there, that's weak. But just to survey the landscape and say, I think I have the best chance not only to win, but to play the kind of basketball that I believe is winning basketball, is more egoless basketball, I'm not going to fault him for that. And by the way, you and I are on the same page. Durant's better than Westbrook. However, Stephen A., let's not pretend that the world hadn't changed. When Durant got hurt and Westbrook was the sole real option on that team, he elevated his game. He became MVP caliber, and it was not clear. You and I may agree about it, but there are plenty who would disagree that Durant was clearly better than Westbrook this past season, that it was clearly still Durant's team. I think Westbrook had elevated to the point that that was a question. I think it interfered with the way they ran that offense late in that series against OKC. I mean, against Golden State.
Kevin Durant averaged 27 a game. He shot about 50% from the field. He shot nearly 40% from three-point range. He was clearly more efficient. And I don't know what you're watching.
Well, he's 6'10". He's got to be more efficient.
But let me be clear. There is no one that thought that Russell Westbrook was better than Kevin Durant. In what world are you living in? Do I need to ban you from talking about the sport of basketball? Do I need to ban Kevin Durant is not better than Russell Westbrook?
I agree with you. There are those who would argue the point, including on ESPN, including the analytics guys on ESPN.
Oh, the hell with them.
He doesn't care about analytics.
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
Smart guy.
analytics.
You don't want to hear from the smart people?
I don't want to hear about it. Those are the same people that sit up there, and regardless of how Kobe struggled, they had him ranked 93.
And it was true.
No, it wasn't.
You're going to hold on.
I'm going to tell you why.
93 was generous.
I'm going to tell you why. Because in the sport of basketball, when you're not playing with anybody and going up against pros, you're going to look like garbage unless you're at your elite level. If you had put Kobe on a damn decent basketball team, what?
The problem with that argument is I can't disprove it. It's just assertion. What you're saying is
the numbers.
You're saying the numbers don't count. Well, Kobe was really inefficient, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that doesn't count. Yeah, but the eyeball test said he wasn't good. And then you say, well, because he's not playing with good players. And then if he would have been playing with good players, you'd have another excuse.
Kobe's damn near 40 years old.
Right.
He was the #1 option. You had Roy Hibbert and Clarkson and Swaggy P.
Are you saying Kobe wasn't the 90? He was better than the 93rd player last year?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
I'm saying this to you because I'm not going by the numbers. I'm going by his situation. If you put Kobe on a decent if you put Kobe on a decent team, he would have looked better than he looked.
Okay.
Don't act like he was playing with a team.
You know how much better he'd have had to be a good player?
But what I'm asking you is this. You're trying to gloss over and ignore the fact that the brother won 5 rings and he did what he did. I mean, come on now.
Now you're switching the argument.
I'm not switching it.
I'm not saying Kobe's not one of the greatest players of all time. I'm saying last year he wasn't good.
Last year he was awful. But what I'm saying to you is that it had a lot to do with the scrubs you were playing with.
And a lot to do with the fact that he had catastrophic injury in the not-too-distant past, and a lot to do with the fact that he's just old.
You're getting open shots, and you don't have to work as hard as you have to work if you got teammates around you. Why did Kevin Durant leave for Golden State? It was because of the collection of talent he was joining.
But not because he was shooting 38% from the floor or whatever it was.
I agree with that.
The idea that players, when they're not good, are still good because they were once good is far-fetched.
No. That's not my argument. Don't try to flip the script. My argument is that if you're playing with subpar players, then defenses get to key on you more and make you look worse than you are because you're not what you used to be, and you can't circumvent your way around that.
I would only add one word. Make you look even worse than you are, because he played worse.
Stephen A., quick question for you here. Will Westbrook ultimately regret this extension?
I don't think so.
Think it was the right choice?
Because I think if Westbrook wants out, he's going to be able to get out, especially since they added that additional year. He gets his money, plus Sam Presti will be in a position to move him to somebody else who may be willing to take the chance on him, even if they're not sure he'll want to stay there long term. But in the end, this move, he's going to look like a hero to the folks in Oklahoma City, and he should, because he's willing to stay at least an additional year in all likelihood. And in the end, what it comes down to is that Kevin Durant in a roundabout way was saying, I don't believe I can win with this guy. I tried it long enough. And who's to say he's wrong? He may not be wrong. But considering how much he came to the defense of Russell Westbrook time and time again, he could have sat back and kept quiet as opposed to coming to his defense like you completely believed in him when it is clear now that was not the case.
I think it's legitimate for media members to say, timeout, Durant. You've been taking this position for so long, aggressively going at us when we ask you questions, and then when it came time to examine your behavior said the exact opposite of what you've been saying.
That's the bottom line.
I think that's a legitimate point of view.
That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line.
You guys came out of the gates firing. This crowd all fired up here. We are just getting started. Right from Richmond, Virginia here. First take, day 3 of our training camp tour. This next conversation is going to be very interesting and very fitting for where we are. There you can see in the merchandise store, Redskins camp. A subject of controversy has been the name Redskins. You don't want to miss Max's take when we come back. Stay here.
All right, let's see. Oh, how about this one?